SummerSlam 2025 is right around the corner and it looks to be the biggest SummerSlam event in history. For the first time the action goes on for 2 nights. Almost 10 years ago I watched my first episode of SmackDown that turned me into a wrestling fan. And the first WWE pay-per-view I've ever experienced was SummerSlam 2015. I wasn't able to watch the show back then due to me being a young boy, but now I can. And I can finally answer the question, was SummerSlam 2015 as good as my memories tell me? Mind that I've only seen the recaps and highlights in the following SmackDown episodes back then, but I still knew it was something special. The day was August 23, 2015 and over 15,000 fans came together to witness a stacked card, featuring names like The Undertaker, John Cena and Brock Lesnar. Jon Stewart played the role of the host and the night kicked off with Randy Orton vs Sheamus. These two got the ball rolling by just going at each other. Sheamus started the speeds of the Bodron and the crowd started to count along.
Sheamus calls this into the
But Sheamus, a heel at the time, didn't want the crowd to have a good time and stopped in his tracks. Out of nowhere, Randy Orton hits an RKO but can't finish the match. Sheamus, fueled by anger due to the "you look stupid" chants, lands 2 consecutive bro kicks to finish the match. He definitely needed this win more than Orton, considering he had the Money in the Bank briefcase. This match nicely set up the tempo for the night. Then it got really going. A fatal 4-way for the tag team titles. Champions Primetime Players defended against Los Matadores, Lucha Dragons and the New Day. This was such a good time. Lucha Dragons and Los Matadores were flying left and right and the New Day pulled shenanigans like attempting to pin each other to sneak out the win. They did take the win home eventually and this was just what the tag team division needed. The New Day were the most entertaining part of every segment they took part in and their reign restored the tag team championship 2 for 2 for now. But Dolph Ziggler vs Rusev came up next and couldn't keep up with the matches before it. The Rusev vs Lana storyline that involved Dolph Ziggler and Summer Rae dragged on a lot at the point. The match didn't even end conclusively with a double countout. We wanted the storyline to end here, but it was far from finished. Next up was a strange one. On an episode of Raw, Arrow star Stephen Amell sat ringside. He was taunted by Stardust, who had a match going on with Neville. Amell interfered and Neville won. This escalated and led to a tag team match at SummerSlam, Neville teaming up with the actor to form the Red and Green Arrow. They took on Stardust, who dragged King Barrett into the mix, who had no business here. Surprisingly, Amell didn't look awful in ring. But the difference between him and the trained wrestlers was noticeable. He did a dive, then Neville did his crazy finisher and they got the win.
Is he gonna hit it? The red arrow and
Nobody had expectations for this and this was just fine as it was. Then it was time for the Intercontinental title triple threat. Champion Ryback vs The Miz vs The Big Show. Ryback wasn't particularly interesting as champion and I don't think anyone wanted to see the belt on The Big Show. So the crowd got behind The Miz. Everyone expected that he would steal the pin after one of the heavyweights did their finishers. But Uno reversed and he was on the receiving end of exactly that. And Ryback retained. It continued with a tag team match between Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose vs Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper. 10 years later, both Wyatt and Harper have passed, taken from us way too soon. Like always they lost, like there was any other outcome with Roman Reigns on the opposite side. Totally overpushed during that time. Thankfully, Seth Rollins and John Cena swooped in to save us from this downer. This was great. Seth Rollins pre-injury was incapable of having a bad match, and Cena was at the peak of his in-ring abilities during his United States title run. The stakes were sky high as well, with both the World Heavyweight and US Championship on the line. These two put on an all-time classic. Aerial attacks from the corner, crazy near falls with kickouts in the last possible nanosecond. The finish went a bit off the rails with Jon Stewart interfering, but what came before was so good it didn't matter. Seth Rollins winning was the right choice. He was now a double champion, a remarkable achievement. Then the women's division got its chance to shine in the triple threat elimination tag team match. Team PCB vs Team Bad vs the Bellas. This was shortly after the debut of Charlotte, Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks, who shook up the scene. The Bellas going in represented the status quo. The world of the Divas. Paige, Charlotte and Becky emerged victorious, taking another step into a better future for women in WWE. The penultimate match was another clinic between Kevin Owens and Cesaro. These two had bangers week after week on Raw and SmackDown. This was just good quality wrestling. Kevin Owens pinned Cesaro after 14 minutes to end the match. Owens really was on an upswing back then, and the win came in welcome, even though it was at the expense of Cesaro's momentum, who until his parting with WWE never really achieved anything big, despite being a world-class in-ring performer. To end the night came the main event, Undertaker vs Brock Lesnar, a match that just made sense. Brock Lesnar broke Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania 30 and now Taker was back for revenge, healthier than last time. These two had locker room clearing brawls in the lead up and they didn't hold back a bit during the match either. It offered something for everyone. Power moves, technical wrestling, blood, screwy refereeing,
And look at Lesnar. What are you doing?
low blows and a Brock Lesnar that flips off Undertaker shortly before passing out. It was clear that this wasn't the end between these two. That came inside Hell in a Cell. So SummerSlam 2015 was a pretty good show overall. I'd even call it great. It had amazing wrestling as well as character spotlight and history making moments. Even after 4 hours, the fans still had energy left for the main event. SummerSlam 2025 has big shoes to fill, but it has more than enough potential to do so. What do you think about SummerSlam 2015? Let me know in the comments. You've been watching WWE.
The best things in wrestling.